I want to minister to you this morning. Consider your ways. You know, Pastor Moses was known for a desire to know God's ways, how he operates. But this morning, I want you to consider your ways. Because I'm looking in the scriptures and I see where Haggai had a real heart for God's people who had been in exile to the Babylonians because they were held captive because of their disobedience to God. And their disobedience to God had them in a place and a space that they were living powerless. And this awesome, powerful man rose up and he declared unto the people to consider your ways. And this morning, I want you to consider your ways. I want you to consider your attitude. I want you to consider your actions. I want you to take a checkup from the neck up. And I want you to mirror yourself today and look in the mirror and see what you see. Because so often we can't look in the mirror. We look in the mirror, some people, I don't like to see myself. I don't like to see myself. Not your pastor. I'll be like, no. But you have to consider your ways. Turn to the book of Haggai quickly. Chapter 1. Because this morning I want you to consider your ways. And your ways of prosperity and your ways of blessings. Because the children, God's people, were living in poverty because of their ways. Their ways caused them to live in poverty. And our ways can cause us to live in poverty. Our attitude can give us a poverty mentality. And so he writes to them with this poverty mentality that they had, and he gives them a word from the Lord. And I want us to look at that this morning. Haggai chapter 1, verse 5 says, "Now therefore, thus said the Lord of hosts." Now whenever you see the Lord of hosts, that's God in his great army. So he says, "Now therefore, that thus said the Lord of hosts, consider thy ways. You have sown much and bring in little. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you are not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is not warm. And he that earneth wedges to put it into a bag with holes in it. Thus said the Lord of hosts, consider thy ways. Consider your actions. Consider what you do. You are now living in poverty, he says. You don't have enough because of your lack of commitment to the Lord, your lack of dedication, your lack of creativity, your lack of vision, a lack of a desire to accomplish something. You are living in poverty. So he says, I need you to take a checkup and consider your ways, because we have been in exile for a long time. God has kept us from our homeland. We've been in captivity to the Babylonians. They're calling shots on us. We're not free. We're in bondage. And he says, it's time out for us to live in poverty. It's time for us to move into our greatness. It's time for us to live life powerfully. It's time for us to live life extraordinary. But there's a secret, he says, that is so vitally important, and that is you have to take action and you have to plant on good ground, because what you're doing and what you're giving and how your actions, you're trying to monitor the ways to take a checkup in the neck and look at themselves and make some changes and make some adjustment, because they keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, you're going to get the same results. If you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to change your thinking. You're going to have to rearrange how you think in your mindset. If you don't turn from things that you are doing right now to something different, you're going to keep getting the same thing you're getting. So he now says, please, God says, consider your ways. And I'm saying to you this morning, consider your ways. Consider your actions. Consider what you do on an everyday basis as you go to work and as you around the neighborhood and as you go through the mall and the Walmart and different places. Consider your ways, your attitude of how you handle God's people. I'm sure they were arguing amongst themselves. I'm sure they had bad dispositions because they wasn't blessed. And so the prophet is trying to get them blessed. The prophet stands out and speaks boldly and says, consider your ways. Because look at your situation. You're not happy. Life is miserable. You look like you've been sucking on lemons all day. There's no smile on your face. There's no joy. There's no happiness. Your life's a wreck. And he's trying to get them to just examine themselves so that they can begin to part of the poverty. So it's Jesus that's telling us negative